Hi, back to take a quick look at another topic. This one should be shorter than the last video. And it's going to be found in this passage here, Ezekiel 3. And we're going to look at verse 8. It says, "Behold, I'll make your face as hard as their faces, and your forehead as hard as their forehead." So, somebody that you're not going to knock down, take out. Her face is hard as your face. You don't want to listen, that's fine. She's not going to stop. And your forehead is as hard as their foreheads. They don't want to hear you, but you know you have the truth. That's how I take it. I'll make your forehead like a diamond, harder than flint, which is really what theirs was made out of, flint. But this forehead has the idea of diamond, of, well, the hardest substance on planet Earth, is what we're told. Harder than flint. You do not be afraid of them or dismayed at their presence, even though they be or are a rebellious house. Isn't that interesting? This is how the New International Version puts it. I'll make your forehead like the hardest stone, harder than flint. Do not be afraid of them or terrified by them, though they are a rebellious people. Why is that so important to look at? Rebellious people. Because of this. Let's look at it. Where is it? I have it right there. Okay. So, in biblical names, the meaning of the name Gomorrah is rebellious people. Rebellious people. So that's going to take us to Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Which then we understood what the contamination of the woman's seed was and where it came from, which was from Egypt. It came out of Egypt, which is gives us further understanding of why we read this in Revelation 11:8. Their bodies will lie in the public square of the great city, which is figuratively called Sodom in Egypt, where also their Lord was crucified. Their Lord is not Baal, husband as bridegroom, Lord and Master. Their Lord was the daughters of Israel. They did not want them in covenant. And that's why we get the allegory of the heifer burned to ashes. She was a sacrifice. But it's so important to understand, right? It is the feminine in view because we have Sodom, the Sodomites, and then we have Gomorrah, the rebellious people. And if we look that up, and I'm not going to do it here, this is just a quick look at it. It's going to say it's a feminine noun. I'm pretty sure it gives rebellious people there as a feminine noun. So it is highlighting the daughters who are rejecting the truth, right beside the Sodomites who are in love with themselves. And that's them bowing down to themselves as God. The abomination of desolation is a man inside of a man playing God. The rebellious people are the women who go along with the lie. And so God says, don't worry about them. Don't worry about them bowing down to a religious idol. I'll make your forehead harder than theirs. You'll be stronger. You'll know more than they know. You'll be able to take them on. Don't fear them, because I'm with you. So in Jeremiah 17, we're going to read this right quick to go along with it. Because it says, the sin of Judah is written down with an iron stylus, with a diamond point. It is engraved upon the tablet of their heart and on the horns of their altar. So they've engraved their own sin on their own heart. They did it with, it says apparently, a diamond point. Although here in some translations it says a flint point. Now, when you go to what they wrote on the high priest's plate breaststone, the stones, these gems, they had to find a harder substance in order to write on these stones, and that would have been That would have been diamond. Is some speculation there. Because flint isn't, none of the stone, all of the stones would have been soft stone. But if we compare the heart to a stone, we also have Judah's sins already engraved upon his heart. And we know what that is. It's a harlot spirit. And that harlot spirit speaks in words as a spirit, a harlot spirit, in Isaiah 47 when she says, no one sees me. And when she's saying, no one sees me, she's saying, I'm hid in his heart. And the reason why she's hid in his heart, he's going to exalt a harlot spirit that exalts him. Because what that leads to is the debasement of her and the exaltation of a man, and a man inside of a man. He exalts man as God himself. And he's in love with that. And then you've got the rebellious women who don't want to hear the truth going against that. When we have the pure record here already written on Judah's heart, his sin is already written on his heart because he exalts the harlot spirit. As they remember their children, so they remember their altars and their Asherim by green trees on the high hill. O my mountain in the field, I will give thy substance and all thy treasures to the spoil, and thy high places for sin throughout all thy borders. And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine inheritance that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever. Thus saith the Lord, cursed is the man who trusteth in mankind. Thus saith the Lord, cursed be the man that trusteth in a man, and maketh his flesh his arm, and whose heart departeth from the Lord. And it did. His sin is engraved on that by worshipping a man. And that means he exalts a harlot spirit that will bow to Baal as Lord and God and allow him to make himself God in the earth. And so those sins gets recorded in his heart. And you can see that. All you got to do is look around the world, look at the law, look at the suppression, look at the oppression. And it's gone on and on for thousands of years. And but we're not wise enough to put that together. And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not, for ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever. Thus saith the Lord, cursed be the man that trusteth in a man. And they do. They trust in Baal. They prophesied through the wicked imaginations of their heart that man was God and could create life. And did create life. Father did it all. No mother required. It was his womb that did everything, according to Isaiah 46, with the he pronoun, which is just really ridiculous. It is the abomination of desolation, a man inside of a man. They will not hearken to the spirit of the original covenant, which was found through the righteous daughters of Israel, which nobody wants to hear. Thus saith the Lord, you are cursed, right? You put your trust, you make your flesh, maketh flesh his arm. There you go. For he shall be like the heath in the desert, and shall not see when good cometh, but shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, where there is no water. There is nothing but salt land, and not inhabited. What we realized, when you scatter salt, it means there'll be no descendancy from the area. So here they're walking in a place where there is no descendancy. I know they used to salt the earth. In the Old Testament, you'll get the indication. When they were to decimate the place and make sure no descendancy would ever come out of that land, they would always cut everything down and they would salt it. And so you are not salted as a preservative in the earth. No, it indicates that nothing will come from you. So in a salt land, and it's not inhabited. No one lives there. Nothing lives there. But blessed is the man, the woman that trusteth in the true Lord, and whose hope the Lord is. For she shall be as a tree planted by the waters. There you go. That spreadeth out her roots by the river. That's her daughters running forth from the waters as rivers. And shall not see when heat cometh, but her leaf shall be green, and shall not be careful in the year of drought, and neither shall cease from yielding fruit. So this daughter, this branch, this tree, we know wisdom is described as a tree in Proverbs. So wisdom is a tree, it says. And she's by waters. We see them actually bringing the daughters of Israel down in Ezekiel 19, when you see that she was a vine planted by plentiful water. So here the water is very important. It is your word, it is your truth, it is your law system. Without your law, you will die. You will go into submission unto a man-made religious law and law. And eventually, if you don't turn back to the true living God, Mother, who gave life to all things, you will die. You will burn in that. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? So we're bringing the heart back in, and we see that the sin is written on Judah's heart. It was wrote on there in flint. Now, I didn't look the word up. I may scroll back up and look at it in a minute, if I think to. The Lord searches the heart. Okay, flint. So I'll highlight that there. I, the Lord, search your heart. I try the reins, even to give every man according to his ways, every woman according to her ways. They are a rebellious people. The men of Baal don't want her in covenant. They exalt the harlot, which is writ on their heart in flint, and according to the fruit of his doings. As the partridge sitteth on eggs and hatcheth them not, so he that getteth riches, and not by right, shall leave them in the midst of his days, and at his end shall be a fool. Fools love foolishness. So he who makes a fortune unjustly, you see, he's stealing riches and goods that do not belong to him, and he's doing so under a religious lie and law. He's removing a person out from under the law and saying she is not a person under the law and has no rights under those laws. He who makes a fortune unjustly is like a partridge that hatches eggs it didn't lay. You see what he did? He's playing God is what he's doing, which we discussed in the last video. And in the middle of his days, his riches will abandon him, so in the end, he will be a fool. So fools love foolishness. They think Father is God and carried them and created them, and he. But that just empowered him under the law. He stole another's children from her. But the Shulamite says, but my own vineyard I have not kept. It's time she started keeping her own vineyard. A glorious high throne from the beginning is the place of our sanctuary, our Lord. And that acts like it is the house in the forest of Lebanon. It is currently in reconstruction or being rebuilt. She says, I will rebuild thee again, O daughter Israel, daughter Jerusalem. What does it say? This is what it says. This takes you back to who's talking here. Lord, the hope of Israel, all who abandon you will be put to shame. All who turn away from me will be written in the dirt, for they have abandoned the Lord, the fountain of living water. So who's the fountain of living water? It is not a man inside of a man playing God, an idol built up, Baal. Jesus saying living waters flows from him. No, it is your wife, woman, who is the living water that was contaminated by a blood covenant that came out of Egypt. That's right. That's why the witness, the Spirit, dies in Sodom and Egypt with a rebellious people, with the Sodomites rejecting the truth of the true covenant and true Spirit. And so we get these living waters flowing from Lebanon, which takes you to the house in the forest of Lebanon, which appears to be in reconstruction here in Song of Songs 8. She says, it says, if she be a wall, we will build upon her a palace of silver. And if she be a door, we will enclose her with boards of cedar. So both of those belong to her. The doorway is hers. She is the key of your escape. Without her, you will not escape anything. But she says, I call to you. Wisdom calls. You can't be bothered with reasoning, sense, and reasoning. You want foolishness right to the bitter end, and you'll have it if that's what you want. So the walls are of silver. We know the pinnacle is of rubies. The pinnacles are of rubies in this special house. So it must have been a very magnificent, beautiful palace, which represents the female body. Yeah. So it's in reconstruction. Despite their rejection, there will be enough scions, female scions, that comes to the truth that will allow a replanting of that truth. And from her will many children flow. These ones that are present appears to be the children of Babylon. They don't want to hearken to truth. They don't want to hearken to wisdom when she calls. Proverbs 1 takes you to Psalm 2. She says, when I called, you couldn't be bothered with the truth. Fools love foolishness. They're stealing their sister's eggs, sitting on them, and making riches out of them. But we see what's going to happen to them in all their lies. The fool's going to come to an end. And all the rebellious people are coming to an end. And that's why you see the witnesses, which is the spirit of the true covenant, identified through the daughters of Israel, reborn of the dust of the earth. And that's why you see the witnesses dying in this place of identified as Sodom in Egypt. This religious lie came out of Egypt. We've discussed this in many of our videos, and that's where we picked the trail up. We followed the trail. And so that's the idol you bow to. And it all comes down. It began with changing the glory of the daughters of Israel over to an animal, a bull, a bullock, which then become a sacrifice, a blood sacrifice. And it got built up over time. And we've discussed it inside out. Like I said, I am coming to a wrap up. If they want this covenant, then they're going to have it. They're going to have it. You're going to drink blood. You're going to wash in it. That's what you want it. You don't want the pure water. You don't want the law system that'll bring truth, life, liberty, happiness, freedom, eternity. You don't want it. You want blood. You want a blood law is what you want. And by bowing to the idol of Baal who died on the cross to wash you in his blood, you have gotten it. You are living in it, and you will not turn away from it. You are a rebellious people. You will not listen to wisdom, and you're gonna continue to burn in the coals of the fire. You are as an unturned cake. There's very few. And it'll be the descendants of these very few that will repopulate. So anyway, there's the video. Thanks for watching. I hope you are blessed with an abundance of truth. I do hope you open your eyes before it's too late. And I thank you for watching. Thanks.